views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, welcome to Open BxRx Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Charity Executive Suite. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to New York-based photographer Vicky Charles as she tackles issues surrounding Black identity in her self-portrait collection titled Hair Hero. Then we'll speak to Nigerian visual artist Jimbo Lateef as he discusses exploring his art using modern calligraphy with his series Shades of Feelings. After that, we'll be joined by dancer and choreographer Viviana Basanta of Ballet Folklórico de México de Amalia Hernandez as they celebrate their 70th anniversary at Lehman Center for the Performing Arts. Later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on the Coqui poet Raymond Camacho, followed by a performance at the end of the show. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way because now we are officially open. Welcome to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, inviting you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, don't forget, follow me on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. Our first guest is a Haitian-born, New York-based photographer whose work consists of self-portraits that deal with issues within Black identity, the body, and relationships with oneself. Her recent collection, Hair Hero, showcases the never-ending self-struggle and acceptance of Black identity through hair. Joining us to share more, we welcome self-portraiture Vicky Charles. Hello and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. I love your work, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this with our viewers. Let's just share with everyone a little background on, I guess, what brought you to becoming a self-portraiture. I mean, you're a photographer in development, right? But you've chosen a certain angle in which to capture. So and of course, there's a lot of political statements underlying the work that you do.
Right, like where I began with work, become like photographing myself. It started at college, my first year of college, when I started like going to different photo classes, and it came to a point where we needed like models, and I didn't really know a lot of people, or really had like people that I knew didn't really have time to like help me with projects. So I thought, why not use myself? So it just became like a whole thing where it's like easier, I'm always available because, it's my own project. So I know when what to do. So it just helped. It really helped, like, basically with each project that I got from like college, it really helped me really know myself a little bit more when it came to taking pictures. So I just got so used to like having me and like in the forefront with all my photos, basically.
And so let's talk about this topic of hair. Is that something that I guess really became a conversation with you yourself in capturing yourself using the camera as a mirror?
Yeah. Well, just like a little backstory, just like my last year of college, we had to create like a photo series just to put up a gallery. So I was just trying to find like what to like say, And I was going through one of my hobbies is just like going through YouTube, like looking at hair tutorials. And I remember I saw one video where this girl was talking about like her hair journey, where she stated that she doesn't remember her hair texture as a child, her natural hair in her natural state. And that triggered me. And it made me think back like, oh my gosh, I don't remember my natural hair growing up. I just remember relaxer, straight. And so that inspired me to, talk about hair, just like, how much has been a journey. At that time, during my last year, it was 3 or 4 years of me being natural. So I dedicated like, the whole series as, basically as a love letter to my hair, of not knowing how it was, as a child, and getting to know my hair as late, like early into adulthood. So it was basically a love letter, just like, sorry, but I still love you. I see how you are. And, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm taking it all in. I'm taking it in deeply too, because I know that you have this one image that depicts what a wash day would look like, and boy, that looks like a lot of work, right?
Yeah, wash day is a whole event. It's like, it's a lot. It's like you're washing shampoo, deep condition, and another condition, conditioning your hair, just getting it detangled, moisturizing, twisting it. It's a full day event. So I just wanted to show that in that image, like all the products I use in like a 1 day span or even a week span.
Yeah, and again, I mean, the images themselves, they are a conversation. They're a conversation about hair. They're a conversation of additional hair. They're a conversation of I want to say even people being curious about the hair and wanting to touch it, right?
Mhm.
And so how healing was this for you on a personal level?
Yeah, I just, when I first started my natural hair journey, it was just, I think I started around when I was 18 years old. It was a lot, like, transitioning from that relaxed state, like your hair being straightened, then going into like, seeing your curls. And I never seen it, so I never knew how to tame it, like how to really, really, how to like just like tame it, like keep it under control. And then as the years go by, like I just didn't really think about that much, how much going becoming like natural was such a impact on my life. And doing the series, it made me
When you
realize
say
how much,
impact on your life, impact in what sense?
like, it was like I felt different. It was just like you're so used to seeing your hair straight, like you just, and also on top of that, I was 18, so I felt
So
like
it was, what
an
would you
adult.
say, it was almost like a rediscovery of yourself?
Yes, a rediscovery. Yeah, like I learned, like, because all my life my mother or certain like people in my family would always do my hair. It was just me like doing it on my own. And so
And relaxing was part of the
yeah.
process. I know I'm in there too,
Yeah.
so I get it. I get it.
Yeah. And so starting this series, it really made me realize how much going natural and seeing how much I've learned being natural, like what to do with my hair, how to like, clean it, style it, all that type of stuff. It made me realize how much those 4 years really changed me. Even though I know it's like people say it's like it's just hair, it's just like it's more than that. Like for the past 18 years, I didn't know what my natural hair was, what it looked like. And so um just really like it was, yeah, like I said, it was like much of a trigger, like not knowing, like not remembering. So it was just um really connecting the past of like becoming natural and to now like see how much I've grown, see how much I love myself. And yeah, just wanted to like tell a story of what I've been through.
Yeah, and you definitely have, and I'm glad that we're able to share this with our viewers. And so before we go, when did you discover that your hair was your hero?
I discovered it probably like 2 years into being natural. So I was like 20, when I finally learned like, basically have to love my hair. It's just like, you know, I'm still new to this. This is like something that I just discovered, you know, just gonna take time. And like during like that second year of being natural, I learned a lot of things that my hair could do that I didn't even know that like I can imagine basically. And so just loving how it can like, if you twist it, it'll curl up, or if you like stretch it out, it'll just get longer. And then just seeing how like poof, like an afro, like seeing how just patting it down, it just form an afro. So it was just so cool, like discovering all the things that my hair could do.
And then, of course, the beautiful artistry that you have created through your photography is all available on your website, right?
Yes, correct.
Which I think is a wonderful learning experience for anybody who's learning how to embrace their own hair texture. Thanks for being with us today. That self-portraiture, Vicky Charles, thank you for those profound words. And you guys, if you're interested in checking out Hair Hero, you can visit VickyCharles.com. I'm sorry, you can visit Vicky Charles at VickyDCharles.com and on IG at v.dcharles. All right, don't go anywhere. We have more open when we return. Welcome back to Open. Our next guest is a visual artist hailing all the way from Lagos, Nigeria. He explores his art using modern calligraphy to create characters which represent the many different voices of Africa, ranging from functional inscriptions and designs to fine art pieces where the letters may or may not be readable. And showcasing the complexities of each subject, he's here now to share more. Please welcome visual artist Jimbo Lateef. Hello, Jimbo.
Hi.
Isn't it amazing what we're able to do? Let's talk about your series Shades of Feelings, because I really it resonates with me personally on how you're able to use the calligraphy as a means of expressing emotions within the body. So let's talk about that and why I guess that is your style of conveying I guess people's personalities.
Yeah. I'm trying to when I was probably 5 years ago when I was in school, I studied graphic design in school, like graphic design. So this time we are able to create lettering. There's this calligraphy pen we used to create our lettering. So it's making me remember like the olden days, like the past ancient days, we use calligraphy to write, and it's a type of a message, passing a message to someone. And then the blue color is the last ink. My study, I study at the blue color is the last ink used for calligraphy lines. So I'm trying to bring that back, passing it from one generation to another through my art. So in every homes we have it, not just lettering, not just designing. There are other artists that use calligraphy to create motif on the wall. So I'm trying to make to create face expression, to create a face expression. So to them think that the people can be familiar with, like people love seeing images. So I'm using to create the faces and show the emotions, so they can like this is how this person is feeling. About the shade of feelings, I actually captured this picture when I was probably I'm out of the studio to meet other people. The way they like, different people have different type of look, feelings at the same time. So it's very different.
Yeah, I want to be clear, right? So you're saying the ink is for you symbolic of ancestry. The symbols of the calligraphy is a means of communicating, right? So are you saying people who understand calligraphy will be able to see a message in what you've created? Is that what you're saying?
No, my calligraphy lines is not readable. I'm just using the pattern. The calligraphy has his own principles. It has like the writing is very different from other writing, very different. So I'm trying to use the lines to create emotion. So because they can be familiar with it. I even in school, many people know how to use calligraphy to create, just to write happy birthday. When I was in school, I do graphic design. If I want to use my font to write any like happy birthday, I use my calligraphy pen to create it. So I'm trying to modify. Modern calligraphy is not about writing again. It's about the design, the lines.
And so what you're saying is you fuse two different stylized arts into the series Shades of Feelings, right? So there's the image and then there's the emotion within the calligraphy that's inside the image of the body.
Yes, definitely. That's it.
Right. And so are the emotions created from the subject matter, or are they your emotions infused into the subject matter?
It was created from the subject matters. I took the picture directly and I put it down on the paper with the lines.
Got it. So
I was trying to tell the story of the person. Like the guy, if person is happy, like, and I'm seeing you now, I'm seeing you are happy. Different people can be there thinking about life, thinking about what to do next. So different kind of faces, different kind of emotion, different kind of feelings.
So what are the emotions that you've captured thus far?
The happy feelings, and probably when they are feeling, some are feeling sad, some are actually thinking, some are happy. So there are different kind of feelings, different kind of anger, many so them like that.
And so before we go, let's just share, you made one comment about passing it on to the next generation. What is your motivation behind using this style in messaging and communicating with the next generation?
Okay, this is it. While I was growing up, I said, okay, before I started using the calligraphy line, I actually I can actually have this strong feelings for calligraphy. Like I so much love it. It's very beautiful. So I love it so much. So when I got to research, calligraphy is like an ancient writing. Ancient writing means of communication. Like it's very ancient. So probably people don't use it again. People don't use it again. Like I've not seen people that use it again. So I'm trying to bring it back.
Got it.
Through what they can actually communicate with, like what are attached to it. You know, people see images every day. You see people every day. So I'm trying to show you that this work, I'm seeing calligraphy there. You know that you see, you can remember the calligraphy lines. It's very easy for you to remember. So passing is probably when I have it in homes, different, when I have my works in different homes, the upcoming generation can tell you that this is calligraphy lines, even without telling them. They will know that probably when they go to school, they will know that, okay, I have works at home that look like calligraphy lines. So I'm trying to pass it from generation to another generation.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful gesture, especially because we're living in such a technological age. So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Your intention is beautiful, and we're grateful to you for being able to share this with our viewers here in the Bronx. Everyone, Jimbo Lateef, desde Nigeria. And once again, if you're interested in checking out his work, you can check him out on Instagram at Jimbo, and that's spelled JHEEMBO _ at Jimbo _ We are celebrating Black History Month, mi gente. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll learn about a Mexican ballet company's 70th anniversary tour coming to the Bronx. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back to Open. Our next guest is a dancer, choreographer, and the artistic director for Ballet Folklórico de México de Amalia Hernandez, founded in 1952. And they're now celebrating their 70th anniversary. Ballet Folklórico de México is commemorating the occasion with an extended multi-city tour featuring renewed performances of the company's classic choreography. Here to share their upcoming performance at Lehman Center for the Performing Arts in collaboration with the CUNY Mexican Studies Institute in celebrating their 10th anniversary is the artistic director for Ballet Folklórico de México de Amalia Hernandez, Viviana Basanta. Hello and welcome.
Hello, Rhina. How are you?
What I didn't mention is that you are also Amalia Hernandez's daughter. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm also Amalia Viviana also.
You're also Amalia, but everything on.
Everybody calls me up with Viviana. Yes.
Bueno, thank you for taking the time to be with us, because I know you're currently in Mexico. You will be here in New York very shortly. Pero in the meantime, you're over there getting the show ready. And I know you've been touring throughout the United States, and you're going to be touring for the rest of the year. However, let's talk about the fact that it's Amalia Hernandez, right? That it's not just Ballet Folklórico de Mexico, it's Ballet Folklórico de Mexico de Amalia Hernandez. Is that because of a certain style that I guess represents her? And that, of course, that you're carrying on being the artistic director.
Yes, well, Ballet Folklórico de Mexico de Amalia Hernandez was named because she was the founder, the choreographer, and also the investigator. She investigates a lot of history and the heritage of Mexico with anthropology, ethnography, and go to the towns to make all the work and try to keep the roots in all their work. But in the pre-Hispanic works, she used a lot of different steps of different techniques to make the pre-Hispanic works.
And so when you're seeing, as far as her maintaining the integrity, right, which is what you're saying, of the actual foundation, which is where the folklore term comes from. I know that in what I've seen in the promotional material, there's indigenous ancestry included. There's, of course, ballet. There's a contemporary. There's it's a really nice fusion, a very colorful experience I'm looking forward to.
Yes, before she had the Ballet Folklórico of Mexico, she used to have a contemporary company called Ballet de Mexico. So what we choose for the program is different choreographies in different times of her. So it goes a choreography that already has 70 years, the ballet Sones Antiguos de Michoacán and the Aztecs ballet, and then comes Guerrero that it was made later. So we choose her different stages and her different kind of choreographies to make the whole program to be strong and energetic. And we really try to make a connection and emotion with the public and energetic also. So we like them to go out happy and alive.
And so how many dancers does the company consist of?
Well, the company that is traveling now, there are more or less 55 that they are going now. And they used to travel a lot more, but now it's quite difficult to travel. But we also have the other company here that we are almost 75 but if we use the chorus, because we also have a chorus, if we are almost 100. So, and we have a special group before the people come to the company, they train there. So there's another group with about 50. So we're in the school, we are almost 300 or 400. So it's grown.
I see. I mean, you have a serious tour calendar. I mean, I'm just looking at the rest of your February. You've got, of course, the Bronx, which is what we're talking about. You're going to be at Lehman Center. And then it looks like you're also going to be in Washington, D.C. and Fairfield, Connecticut, and Morristown, New Jersey. And you're currently in Mexico, and there's more. I mean, you're going to California and Nevada and Texas. And so obviously there's some kind of imprint that you're leaving in every town that you're visiting. So what is it, aside from the joy and the experience of just providing that sense of euphoria to individuals, what is it that you really are sending as a message with just, I guess, sharing the culture and its history?
Yes, I think the company has the roots and very profound roots that we never left it. We're still, and I'm still going to the small towns to make my inspiration alive, keep it alive. So what you're going to see is from the roots of the history of Mexico to what is now alive too, because it was 10 days ago, the Candelaria of Tlacotalpan, and you will see the feast of Tlacotalpan. So it's still alive, but it comes from the roots, but it never broke. So it's a root that come and never has been broken. It continues and go and still alive. So that's what I think, that you will have the profound language of the history and the roots. And my mother always used to say that you can never make a choreography of Mexican folk without being in the places. Even in the pre-Hispanic that you don't have it, you must be there. You must go, and to keep the fire alive, you have to be there.
Right. You got to know where you came from in order to know where you're going. And it's beautiful. And thank you for bringing it to our viewers. I'm really looking forward to this experience. And you know, my deepest gratitude to just individuals such as yourself who are making it your life's mission to just make sure that your culture stays alive, and on top of that is passed on to the next generation with that level of integrity, and really coming from that place where your mom, right, from what I read, she used to go from town to town, and she developed this movement. It's a movement, really, is what it is.
Mm-hmm. It's a big movement, because she was the first to go out of Mexico and bring the company to a contest in the UNESCO in 61. She gained, it was the Moisayev and another folk companies. So what we are really there is that to keep alive. And I really love to be in the towns. I also go to teach some things to the small towns to make the interconnection, not only learn about them, so just live with them.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to having you here in the Bronx at Lehman Center. And you guys, once again, that was Viviana Basanta, who is the artistic director for Ballet Folklórico de México de Amalia Hernandez. And they are celebrating their 70th anniversary. And that's taking place on Sunday, February 20th at 4 p.m. at Lehman Center for the Performing Arts, located at 250 Bedford Park Boulevard. That's in the West Bronx. And if you're interested in tickets, you can visit lehmancenter.org/ballet-mexico. And for more info on their USA tour, you can visit balletfolkloricodemexico.com.mx. All right, stay tuned, because Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
We have a super interview coming up next with the best sports writer in New York City. But first, a super recap of a game that didn't go as my prediction forecasted, sadly. Although it was certainly trending that way, Cincinnati and up-and-coming quarterback Joe Burrow controlled their destiny late in the fourth quarter against the LA Rams on Super Bowl Sunday. The Rams held a narrow lead at half, but the Bengals jumped in front in the third and were minutes away from edging the Rams in the big game, as I said that they would. That's when breakout wide receiver Cooper Kupp decided on a different narrative. He took over for LA on its home turf and led them to victory. A competitive affair, that's what we all wanted to see. The game had 3 lead changes and mostly kept within a 1-possession margin. The Rams led 13-10 at halftime, but the Bengals scored 10 straight points on their first 2 drives in the third quarter to make things very interesting. Trailing 2016 in the fourth, LA scored a touchdown to retake the lead with under 2 minutes remaining. High drama, and then went on to stop Cincinnati on their final drive on downs. Final score, LA 23, Cincy 20. Kupp was named Super Bowl MVP after finishing the game with 8 receptions, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including 3 receptions and the game-winning score on the Rams' final drive. Couple of fun Bronx factoids, too, in the big game. The Lombardi Trophy, of course, is named after Fordham great Vince Lombardi, arguably the greatest NFL head coach of all time. From the 7 blocks of granite as a player at Fordham to NFL greatness as a head coach, the Super Bowl winning team takes home a trophy bearing his name. Coincidentally, as I've mentioned in recent weeks here on the show, the LA Rams franchise is named after the Fordham Rams. Music to our Bronx ears. And speaking of music, if that's not enough, what a halftime show featuring plenty of hip-hop, perhaps an ode to the Bronx too, especially when among the cast of LA stars was the great and ageless Mary J. Blige, born in the Bronx at Fordham Hospital. That's my Super Bowl recap, and here's our super interview from LA with Bob Glauber. Honored to be joined this morning by the former president of the Pro Football Writers of America, Newsday columnist, and 3-time New York State Sports Writer of the Year, Bob Glauber. Bob, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Bob. How you doing?
I'm doing great. 2021, big year for you. We have a new book out. You also won the Bill Nunn Memorial Award from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I thought a great place for us to start this morning was a conversation wrapped around Brian Flores, someone that you've written about lately for Newsday. Of course, he's attempting to take on the NFL, and many teams in his latest lawsuit alleging that the hiring system in the league is plainly biased against Black coaches and coaches of color. I know that you've written some articles on the subject for Newsday. What's your take, and what's the latest with Brian Flores?
You know, I think there is probably an inherent bias that sometimes owners and hiring people aren't even aware of. And I think it's a fight that Black coaches have fought for a number of years, and going back to literally, and this is related to the book, and it's not trying to pump it up, but I'm just for historical perspective. 1965, Marion Motley is a Hall of Fame running back for the Cleveland Browns. He wants to be an assistant coach with the Browns, and there's no job there. He tried with Otto Graham in Washington, his former quarterback, and couldn't get a job there. There were no Black assistant coaches back in 1965, right? So now, fast forward to 2021, 22, 34% of the assistant coaches in the NFL are African American. Yet each year, it's like there are fewer Black coaches being hired as head coaches. You had 3 diverse hires this year, but there were 3 diverse firings. So it's, kind of they're back to where they started. It's a complicated discussion. There's no question. It just is. And I think that the league, when you see the commissioner admit we are not where we want to be, we are not where we should be, I think that is an acknowledgement that there is a problem. Now, the league is far different than the owners. And so that you always have to keep that in mind. The owners are the ones who make those decisions. And, in most of the time, they're going with white head coaches. It's like you want to pick the best head coach, and you don't want to see color. There's just no question you don't want to see color, but it comes into the equation. And I think it's the last barrier. It's the last hurdle that the NFL has in terms of the color issue, because once quarterbacks now, there are many successful black quarterbacks, it is not an issue. 20 years ago, it was an issue. So now I think, coaching is now the last frontier where that is concerned. Long answer, but it's a complicated situation.
Oh, 100%, Bob. And I mean, I thought, in my opinion, he was the best candidate in the hiring cycle. I was not surprised at all by his 58-page lawsuit, but I just wonder at this time if a victory for him ends up paving the road for others, but at his own cost, very much like Curt Flood in baseball.
Yes, I think Curt Flood is a good analogy to that. I think Colin Kaepernick, there's something in there. I do think, though, that Brian Flores will get a job. And I say that because, he's obviously got the resume. I think this lawsuit will be settled. I don't think it's going to go to the bitter end. I don't think it's going to go to a jury. So usually these are settled, and I think that he will have drawn attention to it. And if he gets the right opportunity and it works with, a prospective owner, I think he would get a job.
And as you mentioned, very interesting conversation because, the NFL seems to be acknowledging that there are some issues, of course, but the league is predominantly black.
Yeah, and that's the number. And I had an interesting conversation with Cyrus Merry, who was a civil rights attorney who wrote the Rooney Rule. Johnny Cochran, the former attorney who has passed away, and Dan Rooney got together under the threat of a lawsuit back in 2002, 2003, and came up with the Rooney Rule. And Cyrus's contention is that it's not the 70% African-American player number. That's not it, because the real population that you got to look at is that it's 34% African-American assistant coaches, because that's the pool that you're drawing from with this head coach equation. And there is underrepresentation when you look at a third of the NFL's assistant coaches are black, yet the overwhelming majority of the head coaches are white.
Which, of course, brings us to your latest book and a 75th anniversary of the players that broke the NFL's color barrier. I had mentioned Bill Nunn before because I think it's very interesting. You're kind of doing very much the same thing that he did for the Pittsburgh Steelers as a sports writer that is helping others with basically bringing up this history. Tell us a little bit more about Kenny Washington, Woody Strode, Marion Motley, Bill Willis, and the Forgotten First.
Well, Bob, I always appreciate a chance to talk about this because it really is an important subject. It's been 75 years since the NFL was, we'll call it reintegrated, because there had been black players in the 20s and early 30s. But there was a 12-year period where there were no black players in the NFL, zero, and by design. So these four men were the first to cross the color line in modern pro football in 1946. And Kenny Washington and Woody Strode with the Rams, and Bill Willis and Marion Motley with the Browns. Very interesting Super Bowl matchup here, Bob, because it's the Rams who were the first to integrate in the NFL, and it's the Bengals who are owned by Mike Brown, who was the son of Paul Brown, who integrated the Cleveland Browns with Bill Willis and Marion Motley. They were in the All-America Football Conference at the time, eventually merged with the NFL. So this matchup is pretty symbolic, and it's being played in the city where pro football was integrated permanently in 1946, and not the same stadium. That was at the Coliseum, but it's the same city. So a lot of symbolism to this matchup.
That was part one of our interview with three-time New York State Sports Writer of the Year, Bob Glover. Tune in next time for part two.
welcome back to Open. Our last guest is a Puerto Rican, Bronx born and raised poet and spoken word artist whose poetry critiques pop culture with the harsh realities of colonization and the price of the American dream. He regularly performs at venues throughout New York City and Jersey. Pero, since the pandemic, he's been performing virtually with other creatives within the artistic community. Here to share more with us, we welcome poet and spoken word artist Raymond Camacho, the Coqui poet. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. This is wonderful. Thank you.
We're excited to have you. I mean, I think we get excited just knowing that we're able to share space with our fellow artists in
Yes.
this realm of like, you know what? I know that right now our in-person gatherings are still being limited, pero at least we have this means of connecting, right? And so my first question to you to share with our viewers
please.
is, how did you become the Coqui poet?
So I love that question. I became the Coqui poet through performing at the Nigerian Poets Cafe. I started performing back in 2020. And when I would perform, I wasn't a big name. Nobody knew me. And I'm Puerto Rican and proud. And I love the Coqui. So when I would write poetry about decolonizing Puerto Rico, or the beauty of our island, I have the Coqui playing in the background. Every time I would perform, the Coqui was there. And eventually, when I started to perform in person with the Nigerian Poets Cafe, people started like doing the Coqui sound and cheering me and calling me the Coqui poet. So I just learned to embrace it. Beautiful.
How awesome! How awesome! So
it's such an honor.
Viewers, what the Coqui symbolizes, because we know what the Coqui is, but I don't know if they know what the Coqui is.
Yes, the Coqui is Puerto Rico's mascot, our frog, the loudest frog in the world, named after a Taino leader. The Coqui is resilient and powerful, but it also reminds us of home, because the Coqui is our native frog. And its sound, can I play its sound? It's so gorgeous.
I would love you to.
Oh
Are
my
you
God.
kidding me? I love the sound, and you're right. That's how you know you're home. Well, at least that's not how I know I'm home.
Oh my
just
God,
by the
yes.
sound of it. Yeah, play it so
Please.
that they can understand. Because it has this only unique, and they only exist in Puerto Rico and Hawaii.
Beautiful. I recorded that in Yabucoa. I went to Puerto Rico in September and traveled around the entire island from San Juan to Arecibo, to Rincon, to Lajas, to Base El Yunque, all around the island, and being surrounded by the Coqui, being home. It was beautiful. I can't wait to go back.
So
beautiful. Such an honor.
While you were there, since you had the actual sound of the Coqui, were you reciting to their rhythm as opposed to having people, chant the Coqui sound to your rhythm?
Of course, and this Coqui is from Puerto Rico. I recorded this myself. I actually got to hold the Coqui, and
really?
Got to record it. It was beautiful. Yes, it was beautiful. I had such a great experience, and I think for me, like when I do want to write poetry now, I just put on the Coqui sound and I just write, and it just comes out. It flows like the river. I'm so grateful.
And so I understand when you are first just breaking it down for us, that the Coqui sound is something that you would use inside of your work. So is it part of all of your work?
No, not part of everything. There is a poem that I have that I actually say the Coqui and I call its name. It's a very intense poem, but sometimes I just use the Coqui sound when I feel it. Sometimes I don't need to put it in a poem, because sometimes the poem is very intense, and it doesn't really need the Coqui in it. And sometimes the poem needs it. It doesn't have to be about Puerto Rico, but the Coqui sound, I put it in because it's beautiful and it's life and it's love, and it reminds me that I am poetry and art and connected.
Yeah, and it's also therapeutic too, right?
Oh, so therapeutic. to me, it's like, this is I'm used to it because of my poetry. But when people hear the Coqui, other Puerto Ricans, they're like, Coqui, Coqui. I'm like, yes, everyone, they have their own spin on it. They all love it. We all love it.
And so where have you been since the pandemic? Like, I mean, like mentally, and as I introduced you, performing virtually, and I know everything is gradually reopening. And as you mentioned, you were, I guess, crowned or with this moniker at the New Rican Poets Cafe, someplace very familiar to us, to me personally, because I had a residency at the New Rican Poets Cafe back in like 2006. Yeah, I'm dating myself.
Wow, beautiful. I should be interviewing you next. Love that. That's beautiful.
And I know Caridad de la Luz, La Bruja, also continues to host the open mics virtually. So, like, where have you been in all of this? And, you know, just this whole transition of us just acclimating to this being our way of communicating.
I love it. I'm grateful for the pandemic. The pandemic has been hard on everyone, especially artists. I think everyone's been through the ringer when it comes to the pandemic, but because of that, us poets and the creative scene got together, we connected. It's normal now. We've been doing this for 2 years. This is normal. We love it. Being online and virtual. And with the New Rican Poets Cafe, that's how I started performing there virtually. I was not going to perform in person. I was way too nervous. I was just like, I just write poetry. I just want to read it. And now it was a big step. Now I do spoken word, and now I love to read and perform. And I'm just so grateful. The pandemic, it's been hard. Mentally has been hard, and it's scary, but there's so much beauty to be found in it. So much beauty. I'm so grateful for that. Really
Wonderful.
am.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you for sharing the silver lining behind all of it, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to celebrate the silver lining from what we were during. And on top of that, you guys, he is going to bless us with a piece. So thank you once again, Raymond Camacho, the Coqui poet.
You.
And you guys don't go anywhere, because when we return, like I said, Raymond Camacho, the Coqui poet, he's going to perform for us after the break.
Song and celebration filled the Andrew Freeman home in the Grand Concourse section of the Bronx to honor the life and legacy of folklorist, activist, and educator Hector Tito Matos.
We have been waiting to be able to honor him.
Tito Matos was greatly known for his musical talents and his community outreach. Matos is described as a man of the people and a catalyst for several community projects like the taller Comunidad La Coico Community Center and La Casa de la Plena.
They created this center that is specifically dedicated to Plena music and the legacy and the history, so that we musicians can see ourselves.
Tito Matos passed on his musical talents to younger generations. Students like Nelson Matthew Gonzalez appreciates Matos' guidance and credits most of his success to Matos.
Came in and showed different techniques on how to play the game, and that just inspired me to become a better musician.
Although music brought Matos and Gonzalez together, it was the life lessons and kindness that made Matos a prominent figure in many people's lives.
Just showing a lot of love to anyone, even if he met you today, you introduced saying, oh, this is a friend of mine. He will teach you like you knew him for years.
Those who were close with Matos aimed to keep his conventional yet cutting-edge spirit alive for years to come.
He honored tradition, he respected tradition, and at the same time, he wasn't afraid to innovate.
Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler Albane.
welcome back. Here now to perform Salt is Raymond Camacho, the Coqui poet.
My day begins and ends with salt. I wake up in a maze of tunnels deep inside myself. I'm lost in a salt mind, and I was placed here because of you. And even though it's been over a year, I'm still searching, still trying to find my way out. Seawater. I want to swim, but I keep drinking from the tap. Flint, Michigan, 8 years, and their pipes are still filled with salt. Imagine the president pretending to drink water from the tap. Salt. Water once drained from the Bronx River, once bottled in plastic, now dumped into oceans and developing countries. Salt. My tears. The Arctic finished melting 8 years ago. Flint, Michigan's tap water tasted like seawater, and 4 years ago, the South Bronx's tap water tasted like seawater. Salt. I want to swim, but I keep drinking from the tap.
Ooh. Got some mixed feelings on that one, because there's the blessing of seawater, and then there's the knowing that we need to bless our drinking water. That was the poet Raymond Camacho. Be sure to follow him on Instagram at the Coqui Poet. Bueno, that is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through, and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight and 24 hours a day at bronxnet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor. Y bueno, happy Black History Month. And remember, power to the people.
Mm-hmm.